How long have you been plotting this?
I'm 38, own a construction company in Ridgemont, Colorado, and thought I had the perfect life. My wife Diana worked in luxury real estate. We'd been married 13 years with 2 kids, Sophie 11 and Tyler 9. Every morning I made them pancakes before school. Every evening we did homework together while Diana prepared dinner. It felt sacred, you know? Like we'd built this perfect little world that nothing could touch. Then everything shattered over a completely mundane errand that saved my life. It started one Tuesday morning during breakfast. Tyler was asking about fishing that weekend, syrup dripping down his chin as he demolished his pancakes. Diana looked up from her phone where she'd been scrolling through work emails constantly. Actually, I might need to reschedule Saturday. The Donovan property is proving more complicated than expected. I paused mid-sip of my coffee. Donovan? You mean Lucas Donovan? You know him? Of him. He's got a reputation in construction circles. Not a good one. I'd heard whispers about Lucas Donovan, a man who'd moved to Ridgemont about 5 years ago with unclear sources of wealth and a disturbing tendency to make problems disappear. People who crossed him either left town quickly or stopped talking altogether. What kind of property? I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. That old warehouse complex on the industrial side. He wants to convert it into luxury condominiums. It's potentially a massive commission if it goes through. Something in Diana's tone bothered me, though I couldn't identify what. She seemed artificially casual, like she was reading from a script, and she wouldn't quite meet my eyes when discussing it. After breakfast, I kissed everyone goodbye and headed to my biggest current project, the Patterson estate. The Pattersons were old money, the kind of clients who noticed if a measurement was off by a quarter inch. Their mountainside mansion was nearly complete, and I was genuinely proud of the work. Every detail perfect, every finish flawless. That work ethic, learned the hard way in foster care where no one looked out for you but yourself, had built my reputation and my fortune. Around 5:30, I headed to Thompson's dry cleaning to grab Diana's coat. Robert Thompson had been cleaning clothes in Ridgemont for 35 years. He was a small, wiry man with permanently stained fingers and kind eyes. Robert knew everyone in town and probably everyone's secrets, though he was discreet enough never to gossip openly. The bell chimed as I entered. The familiar smell of cleaning solvents filled the air. Robert looked up from behind the counter, and I immediately noticed his usual friendly smile was completely absent. His face was drawn, worried, almost frightened. "James, thank God you're here." His voice was lower than usual, almost urgent. "Just picking up Diana's coat. She said you called about it being ready." Robert nodded but didn't move toward the rack of clean clothes. Instead, he glanced nervously toward the front windows, checking whether anyone was watching. "James, we need to talk. In the back, right now." Something in his tone made my construction-honed instincts kick in immediately. After 20 years of managing workers and dealing with everything from corrupt inspectors to dangerous job sites, I'd learned to read people. Robert Thompson was genuinely scared. We moved into the cramped office behind the counter, cluttered with decades of invoices and old equipment. Robert closed the door carefully and turned to face me, his weathered hands visibly shaking. "I've known you since you first came to Ridgemont, James. You're a good man who built something from nothing. That's why I'm going to tell you something that could absolutely get me eliminated." He paused, running a trembling hand through his thinning gray hair. "Listen to me very carefully. You need to grab your kids and leave this town before morning. Don't pack, don't make a scene, just go." My blood went cold. "Robert, what the hell are you talking about?" "Good, you should be scared." He opened a drawer in his desk and pulled out a small plastic evidence bag, the kind dry cleaners use for small items found in pockets. Inside was a piece of paper, folded into a small square. "I almost threw this away. Would have, if I hadn't recognized the handwriting." Robert's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "It's a contract, James. A homicide contract, with your name on it." My hands trembled as I took the bag from Robert. Through the plastic, I could see handwriting that made my stomach drop sickeningly. Diana's handwriting. I'd seen it on grocery lists, birthday cards, love notes for 13 years. I unfolded the paper with fingers that felt numb. "James Mitchell, before December 18th, accident preferred, $500,000 plus insurance payout. Contact LD for final arrangements. Make it look convincing. The kids can't know anything." I read it 3 times. My mind kept rejecting the information, This had to be some kind of mistake, but the handwriting was unmistakably Diana's, and Robert Thompson wasn't the kind of man who played pranks. LD, I said quietly. Lucas Donovan. Robert nodded grimly. That's what I figured. James, I don't know what's going on, but this is deadly serious. These aren't people you can negotiate with. My mind started racing through the past several months, desperately looking for signs I'd missed. Diana's increasing number of late nights, attributed to difficult clients, her sudden intense interest in my life insurance policy last year. She'd convinced me to double the coverage. Her new friendships with people she was vague about, the expensive jewelry she'd been wearing lately, pieces I definitely hadn't bought her. The pieces clicked together with horrible clarity. How long do I have? I asked. The timeline says December 18th. That's exactly 5 days from now. 5 days until my own wife expected me to be dead. I looked at the note again, focusing on what was somehow the most chilling part. The kids can't know anything. Diana was planning my homicide, and she wanted Sophie and Tyler to believe it was genuinely an accident. She wanted our children to mourn their father while she collected insurance money. But Diana had made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated the one quality that had kept me alive through foster care, through building a business from nothing. I was a survivor, and survivors don't just lie down and accept end. Robert, I said, my voice growing steadier, I need you to do something for me. Can you make a copy of this note? Already done. Robert handed me a photocopy. Originals in my safe deposit box at First National Bank, just in case something happens. One more thing. If anyone asks, especially Diana, her coat was completely clean. Nothing unusual about it at all. James, what are you planning? I smiled. But it wasn't the warm smile my children knew. It was the smile I'd worn when facing down bullies in foster care, when competing for my first construction contracts. I'm going to give my wife exactly what she deserves. I drove home in complete shock, the note burning in my pocket. Everything looked exactly the same. The tree-lined streets, the Christmas lights appearing on houses, the familiar rhythm of suburban life. But underneath, my entire world had shifted. As I pulled into our driveway, I saw Diana's silver BMW already parked. Through the kitchen window, I could see her helping Tyler with homework while Sophie set the table. It looked like a Norman Rockwell painting, and it made my stomach turn. How long had she been planning this? How many times had she kissed me goodnight while calculating my passing? I sat in my truck for several minutes, forcing myself to breathe steadily. In construction, panic gets people eliminated. The workers who survive are the ones who stay calm and think clearly. I walked into the house, my face carefully neutral. Daddy! Tyler launched himself at my legs with typical 9-year-old enthusiasm. Mom says we might go skiing this weekend. That sounds great, buddy. I ruffled his hair, then looked at Diana. She was smiling with the same warm expression she'd worn for 13 years. Either she was an incredible actress, or she'd compartmentalized my planned homicide completely. How was your day? She asked. So normal, it felt surreal. Good. Picked up your coat from Robert's place? Oh, wonderful, thank you. I was worried I'd have to wear that old winter jacket to the Donovan property showing tomorrow. There it was again. Lucas Donovan's name kept appearing. I hung the coat in the closet, watching from the corner of my eye as Diana tracked my movements. Was she checking if I'd found anything? Dinner proceeded with painful normalcy. Sophie chattered about her school play. Tyler demonstrated karate moves. Diana discussed real estate deals with animation. But I found myself studying my wife with completely new eyes. Diana was beautiful. Auburn hair, sharp green eyes, elegant bone structure. But tonight I noticed things I'd overlooked. The way her smile never quite reached her eyes when looking at me. How she steered conversations away from revealing topics. The expensive designer watch I hadn't purchased. After the kids went to bed, Diana settled next to me on the couch with wine, curling up against me like she had thousands of times. You seem quiet tonight. Everything okay? Just tired. The Patterson project is almost done, but Mrs. Patterson is being particularly demanding. Well, once you finish that, we'll have a nice cushion in the bank. Diana paused. Speaking of which, I was thinking we should review our life insurance policy soon. Make sure everything's current. My blood went cold, but I kept my expression neutral. Why the sudden interest? Not sudden. I've been thinking about it for months. With the business doing so well, we should make sure we're properly covered. What if something happened to you? The kids and I would need to be taken care of. The casual way she discussed my potential passing made me want to shake her. Instead, I nodded calmly. You're right. We should review everything. Diana smiled and curled tighter against me. I stared at the ceiling, my wife's warmth feeling like a snake coiled around my body. The next morning, after Diana left for her Donovan showing and the kids were at school, I made carefully planned calls. First, I called Alan Porter, a private investigator I'd used to check backgrounds on business partners. Alan was a former police detective. Thorough, discreet, effective. James, good to hear from you. What can I do? Alan, I need a complete background check on my wife. Silence. Your wife? James, are you sure? Completely sure. I need everything. Financial records, phone records if possible, who she's been meeting with, where she goes. This will be expensive and extremely thorough. Are you prepared for what I might find? I'm prepared. Just get me the truth. Give me 48 hours. Next, I called my attorney, Vincent Martinez. Vincent, I need to discuss updating my will immediately. Also, potential divorce proceedings. Divorce? James, I thought you and Diana were happy. Things change. Can we meet this afternoon? And Vincent, this is completely confidential. Of course, 2 o'clock. My final call was to Diana's younger sister, Rebecca, in Denver. I'd always liked Rebecca, more genuine than Diana without the sharp edges. James, what a nice surprise. Rebecca, can I ask something personal? Has Diana mentioned being unhappy in our marriage? Pause. James, this is awkward. Diana is my sister. I know, but I'm genuinely worried about her, about us. She seems different lately. Rebecca sighed. She's been stressed about money lately. Said the market is competitive and she's under pressure. And what else? And she's been asking me questions about you, about your work, your schedule, your business partners. At first I thought maybe she was planning a surprise, but it's been going on for months. My grip tightened. What kind of questions? Things like what happens to your business if something happens to you, whether you have enemies, who would take over the company, what your insurance situation is. Strange enough that I told her to ask you directly. Did she mention Lucas Donovan? Yes, several times. Said he was a client but seemed nervous about him. Said he was the kind of man who always got what he wanted. After hanging up, I sat in my truck processing everything. I walked into Ridgemont Community Bank and added Robert's photocopy to my safety deposit box alongside important business documents. My phone buzzed with a text from Diana. Donovan's showing went extremely well. He's very interested in moving forward. This could be the deal that changes everything for us. She was right. This would change everything. Just not how she thought. That afternoon, I met with Vincent Martinez. Before we discuss your situation, James, I have to ask, are you in immediate physical danger? Potentially, yes. Then we need to be extremely careful. If you suspect Diana is planning to damage you, we should involve law enforcement. Not yet. I need more evidence, and I need to make sure my children are protected. I leaned forward. Vincent, if something happens to me in the next few days, anything at all, I need you to know it wasn't an accident. Vincent's face grew grave. James, what exactly is going on? I told him everything. About the note, about Donovan, about Diana's suspicious behavior. Vincent took careful notes. This is extremely serious. We're talking about conspiracy to commit homicide, but you're right. We need more evidence. In the meantime, I'm going to draft documents that protect your assets and ensure your children's custody goes to who you specify, not automatically to Diana. Can you do that without Diana knowing? Yes, but if something happens, she'll find out quickly. What's your actual plan? I smiled grimly. I'm going to give them exactly what they want, just not the way they expect. Alan Porter called at 6:30 a.m., 2 hours before I usually woke. I slipped out of bed and took the call in my office. James, you need to sit down for this. I'm sitting. Your wife has been living a complete double life for at least 2 years. Over 30 minutes, Alan laid out a devastating picture. Diana had been meeting regularly with Donovan for 8 months, initially under the guise of real estate, but clearly evolved beyond business. Bank records showed unexplained cash deposits that didn't correspond to legitimate commissions. There's more, Alan continued. Diana hired a private detective 6 months ago to track your movements obsessively. Your daily routines, work schedule, route to job sites when you're alone. She's been planning this for months. It gets worse. I found encrypted communications between Diana and someone using anonymous messaging apps. The messages I could trace referenced the accident and removing obstacles. James, I also found a $2 million life insurance policy on you that Diana took out 9 months ago. You never signed for it, but your signature is on the documents. Forgery. Professional quality. Someone who knew what they were doing. What about Lucas Donovan? That's where this gets interesting. Lucas Donovan isn't his real name. His actual name is Lucas Petrov, and he has connections to organized crime in Chicago. He moved to Ridgemont 5 years ago after an incident made Chicago dangerous for him. The warehouse property Diana is supposedly selling him, he already owns it. Has for 3 years. So the real estate deal is completely fake? Completely. It's just a cover story for their meetings. James, these people are professionals. They've done this before. How do you know? Because I found records of 2 other suspicious insurance payouts in Lucas's past. Different states, different identities. But the pattern is identical. Befriend a successful businessman, get close to his wife, arrange an accident, split the insurance money. I hung up feeling punched in the stomach. This wasn't just about my marriage. I was being hunted by professional butchers who had turned my wife into bait. Diana was already awake when I returned, checking her phone intensely. Everything okay? She asked. Work emergency, pipe burst overnight at the Patterson site. Diana nodded sympathetically, but she seemed relieved I'd be leaving. As I dressed, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Your wife wants to meet today. Final arrangements, come alone. Cold clarity washed over me. Diana had given Lucas my number. They were accelerating their timeline. Instead of going to any job site, I drove to Alan Porter's office. The text changes everything, he said. They're moving faster than expected. Alan, I need you to do something. I want you to make it look like I'm going to be at the old Morrison Quarry this afternoon around 3:30, alone. Make sure Lucas Donovan knows about it. Alan stared at me. James, that's self-destruction. No, it's not. It's the only way to catch them both, in the same place with clear evidence of intent. Alan, these people have eliminated before and will eliminate again. The police need evidence of an actual homicide attempt, not just notes in suspicious meetings. You're talking about using yourself as bait. I'm talking about ending this before they succeed. Alan was quiet for a long moment. What do you need? We spent 2 hours planning meticulously. Alan would plant information about my afternoon location through channels that would reach Donovan. He'd provide recording equipment, a wire that would capture every word. Most importantly, he'd coordinate with Detective Brian Foster at Ridgemont Police to arrange backup that would arrive at precisely the right moment. It was incredibly risky, but it was the only way to end this decisively. I drove to Sophie and Tyler's school at noon. I needed one last look at them before I set the plan in motion. I found them in the lunchroom. Their faces lit up when they saw me. Dad, what are you doing here? Sophie ran up and hugged me. Just came to see my 2 favorite people, I said. Tyler hugged me hard. Are we still going fishing this weekend like you said? We'll see, buddy, I squeezed him. I love you both. You know that, right? We love you too, Dad, Sophie said, but worry clouded her face. Is everything okay? I kissed her on the top of her head. Everything's going to be fine. As I left the school, my phone buzzed. It was Diana. James, where are you? I thought you were at Patterson, she said. Just finished. Why? She sounded oddly practiced. I was hoping we could have lunch. We need to talk about our future. What do you mean? Our future. Our plans. Her voice was flat, like a line read from a script. Meet me at the cafe downtown at 2? I froze. She was laying out an alibi. If she was seen at lunch downtown, Lucas Donovan could be at the quarry making my end look like an accident. I can't do lunch, I told her. I have to check equipment at the old quarry this afternoon. A long pause. The Morrison Quarry? Yeah, I'll be there around 3:30. James, please be careful. That place is dangerous. Her fake worry crawled under my skin. I will. Love you. Love you too. Those might be the last time she would say that to me. She'd just told me where she expected me to die. I spent the afternoon readying myself. I tested the small recorder Alan had given me. I studied the quarry map. I picked cover spots and checked escape lines. I made peace with the thought that the plan might fail. But mostly I thought of Sophie and Tyler, of the life I'd built and of why I had to live. At 3:15, I drove out to the old Morrison Quarry. The pit lay on the edge of town, an old stone operation we used now and then for material. It was remote, ringed by trees, with lots of places where an accident could be staged. On the way, Diana texted, "Having coffee with Rebecca downtown. We'll be here until 5. Love you. She was building proof she was nowhere near the quarry. I pulled in at 3:30 on the dot. The place looked grim, piles of stone, torn ground, and a deep water-filled pit that gave the whole site a bad name. I parked my truck by the equipment shed where passers-by could see it from the access road. It looked close enough to be casual. I wanted a scene, not a setup. Alan texted, "Police in position but out of sight. Recording active. Stay safe." At 3:45, I heard a car. Through the trees, I saw a black SUV pull in. Lucas Donovan was on time. I moved to a granite pile for cover, but kept a clear line of sight. Years in construction taught me to always know the exits. The SUV stopped about 50 yards away. Lucas climbed out, tall, broad, in clothes that cost more than my truck. A younger man slid out of the passenger seat. He looked just as dangerous. I turned on the recorder and stepped out into view. "You must be Lucas Donovan," I called. "I got your message." Lucas smiled like a man who smells blood. "James Mitchell, at last." "I never thought I'd meet the man my wife hired," I said. Lucas chuckled, no warmth. "Diana's smart, pretty, practical. She knows when a marriage needs to change." "Change into a homicide," I said. "Such a crude word," Lucas replied. "I prefer strategic retirement." I kept my voice low. "So you seduce unhappy wives and help them cash in life policies?" "I solve problems," he said. "Diana's problem was a husband who couldn't give her the life she wanted." He walked closer. His partner drifted right to cut off any way out. "She deserves better than a sawdust-smelling construction man." Anger flared, but I kept it in check. He wanted me rattled. "Funny thing, she never acted unhappy to me," I said. "Not until I found out she planned to eliminate me." "Women don't always say what they mean," Lucas said, getting within 20 feet. Perfect for the recorder. "But actions tell the tale. Diana came to me. She wanted out, and she wanted cash." "You came to her?" I asked. "Oh, yes," he said, "at a showing 8 months back. She asked about money, marriage, whether I knew of any men who might be available. She made it clear what she wanted. A punch landed in my gut. Diana had sought him out. She'd set this in motion on her own." Lucas enjoyed my shock. "Did you think she was seduced?" "She's too sharp for that. She planned it. I just helped." "You've run this before?" I asked. "I'm a businessman," he said. "I find chances and take them. Lots of wives are unhappy. Lots of husbands have big policies." His partner had circled, blocking a path, but I had no thought of running. Lucas pulled a pistol. "Here's how it goes. You die in an accident. Heavy gear, loose rock, a fall. Diana gets her $2 million. She mourns. She moves on. And you get half," he added. "I get paid for the service," he said. I let out a small laugh. It sounded hollow. "You know what? You're right. Diana plans well." "Then what?" "You forgot one thing." I took a slow step toward him. "You actually believe she'll split $2 million with you?" Lucas's smile wavered. "We have a deal." "Deals can change," I said. "Once Diana has what she wants, she doesn't need loose ends. She won't be taking you to family events. She won't introduce you to Sophie and Tyler. You're a risk to her new life." His hand tightened on the tool. I kept talking. "You're the only one who ties her to this. The only one who knows the plan. She's smarter than to keep someone who can bring her down." Lucas's jaw worked. "Enough." He leveled the tool at my chest. "You're stalling to save yourself." "Maybe I am," I said. "Or maybe I'm pointing out that we're both expendable." For a beat, the quarry held its breath. Wind moved through the trees. I watched Lucas think through the angles. "Even if she'd eliminate you later," he said finally, "you still die today." "I don't think I do," I said, steady. At that second, Alan stepped out from behind the shed. Tool raised and pointed at Lucas's partner. "Police! Drop your weapons now!" The next few seconds stretched out. Lucas's partner reached for his tool, but Alan was quicker. One shot rang out and the man dropped. Lucas spun toward Alan. Gunfire erupted as I dove behind a pile of granite, but Lucas Donovan wasn't reckless. He didn't waste time with a fight he couldn't win. He bolted for his SUV. The engine roared. I peeked out from cover just in time to see the black vehicle tearing toward the access road. Alan had already thought ahead. Police cruisers blocked the exit, lights flashing red and blue. Lucas slammed the brakes, then stepped out with his hands up. "You good, James?" Alan called. "Yeah," I said, heart racing. "Did we get it all?" Alan tapped his recorder. "Every word. He admitted to multiple homicides and conspiracy. He's finished." As officers surrounded the SUV, I felt a wave of relief. Phase 1 was done. Lucas Donovan was in custody, his confession sealed, but the bigger battle was still waiting. Diana. By 6 o'clock, Morrison Quarry looked like a scene from a cop show. Squad cars, ambulances, yellow tape, evidence techs combing the ground. I'd given 2 statements, handed over the recorder, and watched Lucas shoved into a cruiser in cuffs. Detective Brian Foster headed the case. Hell of a story, James. You realize how close you were to dying? I realize. We need to bring Diana in, but carefully. She doesn't know about Lucas yet. I checked my phone. Dozens of missed calls and frantic texts from her. James, where are you? Please call me. The police called. What's happening? James, answer me now. She knows something's off, I said. Good, Foster replied. Panicked suspects slip up. He studied me. You holding up okay? I watched the text bagging evidence. Detective, how long does it take to plan something like this? Fake insurance, hired butchers? Months at least. Longer, usually. Why? My kids, I said. Sophie and Tyler. They've been saying goodnight to a woman plotting their father's homicide. Foster's face tightened. Collateral damage. Worst part of the job. But Diana made a mistake. What's that? She thought I'd go down easy. She forgot I wasn't just some construction guy. I grew up fighting to survive. She bet against the wrong man. At 7, I finally called her. James, thank God, I've been terrified. Her voice was pure worry. But I remembered the note, the policy, Lucas's confession. I'm fine. Something happened at the quarry. Police are still taking statements. What happened? Somebody tried to rob me. Rob you? Are you hurt? I'm okay, the guy ran off. I paused. Where are you now? I'm home with the kids. Sophie was worried. She said you seemed upset earlier. A knife of guilt cut through me. My children were with the woman planning to leave them fatherless. I'll be home in an hour. Don't say anything to them yet. Of course not. Driving back, the streets looked strange. I wasn't the same man heading home. Not a husband anymore, but a survivor. The house glowed with warm lights. Through the window, Diana moved around the kitchen like it was any other night. I had to remind myself what she'd been plotting. Dad! Tyler barreled into me at the door. Mom said you had a bad day. It wasn't great, buddy, but it's better now. Sophie watched me carefully. Dad, you look different. Different how? Like you're tired, but also relieved. Her insight shook me. I am. Work problems got worked out. Then Diana came in. Same pretty face, same worried eyes. But I could see the act now. The smile, too bright, the way she studied me, the tension in her shoulders. You look shaken, she said, laying a hand on my chest. Her touch made me recoil inside. I'm fine, just glad to be home. She cooked pot roast, my favorite, something she hadn't made in months. She asked about the kids' day, laughed in the right places, but she kept glancing at her phone, and every time a car passed, her eyes flicked to the window. Expecting someone? I asked. What? No, just jumpy since you said someone tried to rob you. After dinner, I helped with homework while she cleaned the kitchen. Normal routine, but the normalcy felt fake, rehearsed. At 8:30, the doorbell rang. Diana froze mid-step, a towel in her hand. Panic flashed in her eyes. I'll get it, I said. Detective Foster stood on the porch with 2 officers. Evening, James. We need to speak with Diana. I stepped aside. Diana, the police want to talk to you. She walked into the hall, face composed, hands trembling. Officers, what is this about? Mrs. Mitchell, Foster said. We'd like you to come to the station to answer questions about Lucas Donovan. Her face went pale. What about Lucas? You know him? He's a real estate client, she said quickly. Has something happened? We'll explain at the station. You're not under arrest, but we'd appreciate your cooperation. She looked at me. For a moment, I thought I saw real fear, or maybe regret. Then it was gone, replaced by calculation. Of course, she said. Let me just say goodnight to the kids. Mom, what's happening? Sophie stood at the top of the stairs, Tyler beside her. Nothing, sweetheart, Diana said smoothly. The police just need to ask a few questions about work. I'll be back soon. I watched my wife lie to our kids as easily as she'd lied to me for months. But Sophie saw through it. Her small face was tight with fear. When Diana grabbed her purse and coat, I stopped her with a hand on her arm. Diana, she turned, eyes cold like a stranger's. Yes? I found the note. The one Robert pulled from your coat pocket. Her face drained of color. For a second, I thought she might collapse. But she didn't. She straightened, her mask slipping. I don't know what you're talking about. The note about eliminating me. The one Robert Cook discovered. The disguise shattered. I finally saw what she'd hidden all along. Something cruel and foreign, nothing like the woman I'd once loved. "You don't understand," she said, voice flat. "You've ruined the kids' lives. Do you think they're better off knowing their mom tried to eliminate their dad?" The blunt confession stunned me. She wasn't even denying it. "They deserve the truth more than your lies." Her mouth twisted into a bitter smile. "Truth? The truth is you were never good enough for me. Not smart enough. Not rich enough. I settled, and I've regretted it every day of the last 5 years. Why didn't you just ask for a divorce?" "Because divorce doesn't pay $2 million. When the police took her away in cuffs, I heard Sophie crying upstairs. She'd heard too much, more than any 11-year-old should. I went to her room. Both kids sat huddled together, sobbing. "Dad," Sophie whispered, "is Mom a bad person?" I pulled them into my arms. "I don't know, sweetheart. I don't know why she made such choices, but I know you and Tyler are good and strong and deeply loved. That's what matters now. It wasn't the ending I wanted, but it kept us alive. And sometimes, survival has to be enough." 6 months later, I sat in a federal courtroom in Denver as Diana shuffled in, thin, pale, chained, and wearing prison orange. Sophie and Tyler sat beside me in their best clothes. Sophie understood far too much. Tyler just knew the nightmare was ending. The prosecution had crushed her. The FBI showed she'd tied herself to Lucas Donovan, part of a crime network across the Midwest. She hadn't just plotted my end. She'd fed information to a group that staged at least 7 other homicides in insurance scams. Her lawyer tried everything, claiming she'd been scared, forced, misled. But the evidence screamed otherwise. Her own handwriting laying out my end, bank deposits over 18 months, recorded calls where she ranked new targets by wealth and weakness. The final blow came from Diana herself. Out on bail, she bragged to Donovan about future plans, new victims, ways to stage more eliminatings. The FBI caught it all. When the judge sentenced her to life without parole, Sophie stood and said, clear and strong, "You're not my mom anymore. My mom wouldn't have tried to hurt my dad." Diana's face broke at that. For the first time, I saw real regret. But it was too late. Too late for truth. Too late for change. As marshals led her away, she glanced back at me. I didn't see my wife. I saw a stranger I'd never truly known. 3 years later, I stood in the same church where I'd once said vows to Diana. But this time, everything was different. Dr. Rachel Chen walked down the aisle in a simple cream dress, eyes full of love I now knew was real. Sophie and Tyler stood proudly beside me as best woman and best man. They adored Rachel, not as Diana's replacement, but as someone who chose to love us. As we exchanged vows, I felt whole again. This time, it wasn't built on lies, but truth. When the minister pronounced us husband and wife, I kissed Rachel. My children cheered, friends clapped. Later, Robert Thompson, the man who'd found Diana's note, shook my hand, tears in his eyes. "I thought I was saving your life, James. Today I see I saved your future." I hugged him tight. "Thank you, Robert, for everything." That night, Rachel and I stood outside, watching the lights of Ridgemont. Inside, my kids laughed and danced with their new stepmom. "Any regrets?" she asked. I thought about it. Diana was locked away forever. The crime ring dismantled, my kids safe, my life rebuilt. No regrets, I said. Diana taught me something, though. What's that? She taught me the difference between someone who says they love you and someone who truly does. I pulled Rachel close, watching Sophie and Tyler through the window. They'd faced horrors no kids should, yet grown into strong, kind, resilient people. I'd gone from a foster kid surviving to a man thriving, from betrayed husband to a father who protected his family, from a homicide target to someone who helped victims rebuild through the fund I'd started. Diana had tried to destroy me. Instead, she proved I could outlast anything, outsmart butchers, and hold on to the only thing that mattered, my children's love. The note in her coat had saved my life. My choices had saved my future. And that future, built on love and truth, was brighter than I ever dreamed. I'd won more than survival. I'd won happiness, and I'd protect it, always.